You know what Sony had? The Holy Trinity. Leo, Brad, and Marco. Who do you have?
It's April 1st, and we're discussing 2003's Looney Tunes Back in Action, where major movie stars Brendan Fraser, Daffy Duck, and Bugs Bunny co-starred. This is Boy Party. It's rabbit season.
It's podcast season, Doc.
That's pretty good. There you go. Second What's Up Doc themed film we've covered on this podcast after the film What's Up Doc just occurred to me. Truly, if you're ranking Looney Tunes movies, you've got this, you got Space Jam, you got Space Jam New Legacy, you got some of the straight to DVD. Do you include What's Up Doc in a list of Looney Tunes movies? I say we do. Why not?
So the Looney Tunes came before What's Up Doc.
What's Up Doc is a reference to Bugs Bunny, and he shows up at the end on her TV on the plane.
No, he does, yeah.
Or on his TV on the plane, yeah.
Sure.
There is a lot, and we discussed on our episode, there is a lot of Looney Tunes inspired shenanigans.
Oh, very much so.
In Peter Bogdanovich's classic What's Up Doc. A better film than this, which isn't to say that I'm not a big fan of this. Anyway, happy April Fool's Day, everybody. Happy April Fools. We are going to do yearly tradition where we do a silly one on April Fool's Day.
But we're doing it in a bit more of a sincere way this time.
I think so. Yeah. Last year, it's a nice opportunity to discuss a film that only fits the format in a really silly roundabout way.
Yeah.
So last year we did Eddie Murphy in Norbit acting opposite himself. Mm-hmm. The lazy thing to do would have been to do another movie of a similar type this year, i.e.
It's Jack and Jill or something silly.
The Parent Trap, which was Katie Brady's suggestion, which is a good suggestion, but that would be lazy. Everyone expects us to do the same thing again. Mm-hmm. So instead, we are discussing a movie which put major stars of film history together, and I mean that sincerely, and that is Brendan Fraser starring with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck in Looney Tunes Back in Action. Now, Space Jam is probably a tidier boy party in terms of the marketing of it's Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny together in Space Jam. But I think Space Jam is absolute dog shit. And I have no interest in Michael Jordan because I think basketball is boring. So that one's rough, and I feel the same way about LeBron, unfortunately, in Space Jam: A New Legacy, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen. So, do you have thoughts on Space Jam? You've seen it, right?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen Space Jam? Okay.
No.
As much as
I'm a terrible co-host.
I know you're not
Space Jam, but
I know you're not a big Looney Tunes head, but I thought you would have seen it just through kind of osmosis.
It's
very bad.
I've seen it in pieces through the internet.
Sure, Space Jam's just absolutely you had to have been 7 when that came out to think it was good. Yeah. But unfortunately, people who were 7 when Space Jam came out,
control the world now.
Control the world and most of the world's podcast and online media output.
What was the date on Space Jam? Was it early 90s?
95?
95.
Conscious of the squeaky chairs today. Let's sit very still.
No.
The squeakiness is audible on previous episodes.
I've got back problems.
Yeah. So Space Jam is the previous Looney Tunes film to this, and then they basically, a couple of years later, are like, we're going to make a Space Jam sequel. No, we're not. And they bring in Jackie Chan, who wants to make a movie called Spy Jam.
Okay.
Which is going to be a sequel to Space Jam. Warner Brothers was also planning to make Race Jam starring racing driver Jeff Gordon. Is he the guy who shows up in this? Because there was a guy in this who pops up in a cameo, and we were like, is that a NASCAR guy? It must be. Anyway.
Yeah.
Both projects were ultimately cancelled.
What does jam mean in this context? When I say Space Jam, do they mean jam like a music jam?
I think jam means throwing a ball around in the context of Space Jam.
You think so?
I think so. Space Jam is very confusing because they put it on in primary school when I was a child, and I hadn't heard of it, but I knew Looney Tunes and I knew this movie, and I was like, what is this? Why is it called Space Jam? Because there's aliens that come from space that they have to beat in a basketball match with the help of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So there's an alien space element to it. Needless to say, it betrays everything I love about Looney Tunes. It introduces stupid science fiction elements, stupid sports elements, celebrity worship of a certain kind. I find it very frustrating. I think Back in Action, even if Back in Action is a little bit too postmodern, winky, kind of, early 2000s for perhaps your taste or some people's tastes. I do think that it at least exists in a context of the film industry, comedy, the movie world, and like it's true to the interests that the Looney Tunes brand always had. This is a cartoon where Peter Lorre would be caricatured. So I think making a movie that's making jokes about the Hollywood studio system and the Bond franchise and all the stuff that this film satirizes is a little bit more true to Chuck Jones's vision. I should say that Chuck Jones, the creator of Looney Tunes and the guy who heralded most of the classic he's actually not the creator of Looney Tunes. Is he the creator of Looney Tunes? I should say is like an overarching franchise from the Warner Brothers Corporation that basically encompassed hundreds and hundreds of cartoons that would play before feature films in cinemas throughout the
that was their
mid-20th century.
Original purpose.
Exactly.
Okay.
Was always their purpose. If you went to see any Warner Brothers film, I'm assuming the majority of Warner Brothers films, let's say you go to see, Singing in the Rain, and you sit down, you are going to be treated to stuff beforehand, such as a newsreel about what's going on in the world, because there's no televisions yet.
Yeah.
So they're going to show you footage from the war, and then they're going to show you a Bugs Bunny cartoon. And you're basically getting,
what
20
a treat.
20, yeah, isn't that fantastic?
My God.
You're getting 20 or 30 minutes of stuff before you get Looney Tunes.
Now we get Slop, we get Vodafone ads, we get Cinema Europa theme song.
Exactly. Like, it's unbelievable the things that they took from us. Now, they've tried in our lifetime to bring back the thing of showing a Looney Tunes cartoon before a feature film. So,
in what way?
There have been a couple of Warner Brothers films released in the 21st century where they've stuck a Looney Tunes cartoon on at the start. The one that's jumping to mind for me now is the Yogi Bear live action movie from 2011.
Sure.
2010. Good Things Come in Bears. And Good Things Come in Bears had a Looney Tunes cartoon stapled onto the start of it. Like, I'm trying to find lists of this online and I can't, but it did. And I remember being like delighted that they were like making a little bit of an effort and throwing something on at the start.
But that wasn't just a specific thing for Yogi Bear.
It was
like an audience match thing, kind of.
It was like we're gonna bring this back with a movie with a kind of a similar aesthetic. Okay. This is a cartoon based thing. I think I've got it here. Rabid Rider is a Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. Now, this is a 3D animated thing. It looks horrible, but it was shown before Yogi Bear. Then I taught a Puddy Tat with similar 3D animated Sylvester the Cat and Tweety was shown before Happy Feet 2 in 2011.
Very good.
And then Daffy's Rhapsody, which is, I think, again, 3D animated, was shown before Journey to the Mysterious Island in 2012. And that was the last one they ever did. So they trialed it out for 2 or 3 years there, and then they obviously gave up again because it just wasn't generating enough excitement for the Looney Tunes brand.
And like, were they making new clips, or were they just...
No, these are new 3D animated cartoons.
Yeah.
But then I must add, they made a big batch of new 2D animated Looney Tunes cartoons for HBO Max about 5 years ago. And they are really good.
Okay.
They made like loads, like dozens and dozens of them, and they just kind of dumped them on HBO Max in batches.
Yeah.
And they are really funny, really creative. They look pretty close to the original mid-century stuff. And I found them to be like, nice and fun. And then Space Jam 2 dropped right after they came out and is so fucking evil and cynical about Looney Tunes and like is so badly animated as well that it kind of just like I think actually zapped any public enthusiasm for the franchise. But anyway,
I have some more information on what Space Jam means.
Okay, go for it.
In the 90s, jam was slang for a slam dunk in basketball. And also a popular basketball video game was called NBA Jam.
There you go.
Space Jam was just a variant, and that's why they
answers that.
So
it is funny that they thought, I don't want to talk about Space Jam much more, but it is funny that they thought that Space Jam 2 was going to hit with kids today with the combined power of, they don't know what that means. They don't know what Looney Tunes is. They don't care about animated character in live action world movies. Like, there's no element of that other than LeBron that was going to be popular.
Presently, LeBron has filtered into the brain rot world of children's humor, where now I get Instagram reels or TikToks that are like, what are your top 10 LeBron songs? And it's just like popular songs with LeBron inserted into the theme of it.
That's kind of funny.
It is, yeah.
That's good brain rot. So maybe it would be a bigger hit now. What happened with Space Jam 2, of course, is that it was released summer of 2021, and it was a part of the infamous Project Popcorn. Do you know what Project Popcorn was?
The fact that I don't says a lot.
Project Popcorn was when Warner Brothers decided to release every single 2021 movie same day on HBO.
Oh, jeez.
Including Dune, including The Matrix Resurrections, including lots of really big movies. And
What the fuck is that?
You remember this was a
No,
big...
why would they do that?
Why would they do that? Oh, because they didn't trust that people were going to show up to cinemas during the pandemic. So they panicked and they released everything on streaming. They were then...
But why would they do it on the same day?
Because they thought that was the solution. Yeah.
That sounds like a tax write-off.
It was insane. It was stupid and insane, and they were. It destroyed their relationship with Christopher Nolan. It destroyed their relationship with Villeneuve outside of the Dune franchise. They really pissed off so many filmmakers. People were owed money that they didn't get as a result of it. It's like the Scarlett Johansson Black Widow thing.
But like in a
it was a disaster.
Maximizing viewers on your streaming platform perspective.
Yeah, they were trying to boost subscriptions to HBO Max. And also trying to kill cinemas, basically. Kick them while they're down. Like, it was evil, awful, terrible stuff.
It was evil, awful,
and
terrible stuff.
Space Jam 2, which is, again, is an atrocity, but it bombed as a result of that, largely, as well. Anyway, Joe Dante brought on board to direct Back in Action. Joe Dante is the director of Gremlins and lots of other fun sort of 80s and 90s kitschy movies. Small Soldiers and The Burbs, Inner Space, Matinee is really good. It's the first Piranha. He was someone on a jury at my work a couple of years ago, so I had a little bit of communication with him over email. Lovely man. Really fun for me to do that because I kind of admired him my whole life since he made this movie, which I love. But he's a really fun guy who's like very into like cool practical effects and just like the perfect person to be blending animated characters with real world scenarios. So he basically worked on this. He said he'd do it as a tribute to Chuck Jones. He wanted it to be the anti-Space Jam. Him and his screenwriter, Larry Doyle, felt that Space Jam misrepresented the Looney Tunes brand. So like perfect here. You've got a guy who has the right approach. And I think that shines through. So they got the guy who worked on Aladdin, Eric Goldberg, to direct the animation specifically. And yeah, I think this turned out well for them. So you got Brendan Fraser, you got Jenna Elfman, Steve Martin, Timothy Dalton, Joan Cusack, Heather Locklear, a real who's who of random early 2000s faces. Yeah. But Brendan Fraser remains an important figure in culture, so we'll get to him in a second. I do think the other cast members in this are worth grazing off of. Jenna Elfman, a big sitcom star in the early 2000s thanks to her role in Dharma and Greg, which ran from 97 to 02, so it was just wrapping up around the time that this was being made. She won a Golden Globe for her role in that. Heather Locklear, someone I'm really not familiar with at all, but was apparently on Melrose Place, and she shows up in this as Dusty Tales, the Vegas cabaret singing super spy. Yeah. You've got Joan Cusack as Mother, who runs a Men in Black style alien lair Area 51 type thing.
Ahead of her time.
She's really fun in this. I always love Joan Cusack. Yeah. She's great at playing these kind of weirdo characters. And then you've got Steve Martin and Timothy Dalton, who are kind of like slightly too famous to be in this, but also contribute hugely. Timothy Dalton has no real film career in the last 20 years other than this and Hot Fuzz.
And even this is just a Bond parody.
It's just a Bond parody. Yeah. My question, I suppose, is did they offer this to Pierce Brosnan before Timothy Dalton? And he said no. Because is Pierce Brosnan too young to be Brendan Fraser's father? He might be, actually. So did they offer it to the other boys then? They offer it to Connery and Roger Moore. Roger Moore would have said yes, surely, if they offered him enough money. Because Roger Moore shows up in the Spice Girls movie. Like, he'll do anything.
Maybe he just doesn't believe in animation.
Yeah, he was like, I don't believe in the Looney Tunes. And you know what? Roger Moore probably didn't like that Lola Bunny was in this because he wanted to be able to, ogle the sexy bunny, and she's not here. So
there's no Lola Bunny in this.
No, Lola Bunny is a creation for Space Jam.
Yeah.
A hypersexualized female Bugs Bunny, as if Bugs Bunny doesn't hypersexualize and effeminize, that's not a word, himself constantly. Our cross-dressing king, Bugs Bunny. But Steve Martin then, in a role in this that I guess only as an adult I'm realizing he probably shot all the scenes in like 2 days, but he is
no doubt.
really funny in this. They let him go totally ham with the role. He's got a crazy outfit. He's dressed like a member of AC/DC. He's wearing
weird slicked wig.
He's dressed like a boy going to school. He's got a wig and big glasses. I, for many years, could not see Steve Martin's face in this character.
I could very much see it.
Okay. Well, I was a child. Okay. I would say it's on similar lines to Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka, where I'm like, I know it's him, but there's something about the way they've done the hair and the makeup here where I just don't see the features.
You were having this issue with Al Pacino in Dick Tracy the other day as well.
And I have this issue with Colin Farrell in the Batman stuff.
Okay, well, like that one, I'll give you that one.
Sure.
That
But
one
I think
actually
Steve Martin in this, when I was a child, I couldn't see any connection between this face and him in the Pink Panther or Cheaper by the Dozen. I don't know. That was me. Now I do.
I think I've developed an issue with Steve Martin.
We both have issues with Steve Martin. But go on.
But in a case where you're saying he's doing something funny here, but
Yes.
I can't fully detach from the fact that this is Steve Martin deliberately trying to do a gag.
Right.
So I can't like settle into his riffs fully.
Okay, fair. I think a big distinction that we figured out when I showed... So Shane hadn't seen this movie before. Third film I ever saw in the cinema. Yay. Yeah. We figured out the other day that Shane maybe would have needed to watch this as a child in order to fully buy into the magic of the movie. I appreciate that. It is not objectively a great film. If you show someone Mary Poppins as an adult, I expect them to love it. If you show them Looney Tunes back in action, you might need a little bit of convincing. That's fair. I saw this at the age of 6. I'm never going to not love this movie. I accept your criticisms, but if you guys think that I'm crazy for sitting here defending every element of this, that is why. But yes,
no, absolutely. Like I don't fault you for defending.
I don't
love,
but I don't
dying on this hill.
Sure, but we talked on our Dirty Rotten Scoundrels episode. I don't think Steve Martin is as funny as everyone else does. I think that his shtick is very tired at this point. I think he's making more of an effort in this to at least match the cartoon zaniness of the rest of the movie than he makes in basically anything else. Yeah. Certainly in the Pink Panther movies, which are kind of cartoon movies as well, but he is just doing his one thing, and I think it's quite flat, whereas in this he's like very big, and it's like, yes, you are in a movie with Bugs Bunny. Behave like you are. So
like maybe I suffer a little bit from seeing 20 years post this of Will Ferrell doing the shtick.
Of course.
And now when I
Jim
go back
Carrey
to Steve
and all these guys. Absolutely. I know.
And now when you go back and see kind of the more original version of it of Steve Martin, you're kind of like, ah.
But do you not think that's the Will Ferrell role in Barbie is the most contrived, flat version of this? Like he's not even, he didn't even do an outfit or a wig or anything. It's just like, these are essential elements of a good performance.
No, it's insane he was casting that given his Zoolander character.
Yeah, exactly. The Zoolander performance is that. Yeah. I think that Jim Carrey in the Sonic movies is much more of like he's actually making an effort in those to be zany and big, which I respect a lot. Sure. Worth, I suppose, very quickly discussing where this sits in the ranking of animated characters in a live action world movies, which are of course a major fad of the last 25 years. On this list, you of course have the Alvin and the Chipmunks films, which I am partial to. I think the first Alvin and the Chipmunks I think is really fun. I've watched it so many times. Again, something I liked as a child, but I still like it. Jason Lee, David Cross, a lot of fun. You've got Stuart Little.
Sure.
Any thoughts on that? It's okay. It's very mild-mannered. You've got the Peter Rabbit movies. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Not a big fan of that, as people 10 years older than me are. The Sonic
was it a friend of ours that didn't know who Stuart Little was?
No, I don't remember that.
I had
Must be someone you know.
Maybe it's another.
Imagine not knowing who Stuart Little is. Can you tell me who does the voice of Stuart Little? Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
You've got Hop, where Russell Brand voices the pervert bunny.
Yep.
You got the Smurfs movies from the early 2000s.
Is he a pervert in that, or Russell Brand is just
Russell Brand's a pervert?
Okay.
And you've got there was a Tom and Jerry movie a couple of years ago, which is a little bit Looney Tunes back in action. It's Tom and Jerry run amok in a hotel with Chloe Moretz and Michael Pena, the aforementioned Yogi Bear, and then the two Garfields with Bill Murray voicing Garfield. I think that Looney Tunes back in action is exceedingly better than all of these films.
I haven't been on my hybrid animated real life film watching buzz in recent years. So.
Yes, fair. So Brendan Fraser cast in this as Damian DJ Drake. So what's the premise of this film? Tell us. It's so straightforward.
Are you saying that in a sarcastic way?
I am saying that in a sarcastic way.
Daffy Duck gets fired from the studio for just being difficult.
Yeah.
And in the process of him getting fired, Damian Drake, played by Brendan Fraser, is the security guard who's tasked with kicking him out of the lot. Mm-hmm. Antics follow.
Yeah.
A water tower collapses. Mm-hmm. Both of them get fired. They wander back to Brendan Fraser's house, where they discover his father, Timothy Dalton / Mr. Drake,
former James Bond actor, who's actually a real spy.
Is a spy in real life, and they find some projector at his house and go on a mission if they choose to accept it.
To find the blue monkey.
The blue monkey, which is a diamond that it's a gemstone that turns people into monkeys.
It'll turn everyone, if Steve Martin gets control of it, it'll turn everyone in the world into monkeys except him.
Yeah.
he obviously wants to live in a world of all monkeys. Don't we all? I think it's random that they throw the James Bond parody stuff into this, but it works for me. I don't think it worked as well for you. It gives them an excuse to travel to loads of different locations, have cool cars, cool tech, and then cram in their Vegas stuff.
A little part of me was like, Looney Tunes is enough on its own that you don't need to parody something else to make it interesting.
I know,
and I think I got lost a little bit in the over hyper referential element of this.
Sure. It peaks early where you have the Warner Brothers set stuff. So they're in like an office with the Warner Brothers. Then they're in the canteen where Matthew Lillard is having a meeting with the real Shaggy and Scooby, which is great.
That's very funny.
I agree. The film references get a little bit lazier as it goes out into the world. But I just like any film that finds a sweaty excuse to have Vegas, Paris, the jungles of South America. They go to so many locations in the desert. They go to so many locations, which I really like, and it just keeps moving really, really quickly, which I enjoy. And then like the stuff in Vegas is really fun. There's a big car chase. Stuff in Paris is really fun. They go to the Louvre, and there's a great sequence that I think is the most kind of well-respected scene from the film, where they basically go running through all of the paintings, and you get to see Bugs and Daffy like turned into all these different classic works of art, which is really fun. Anyhow, Brendan Fraser gets cast in this post Mummy, post Monkey Bone. So he's actually just done another I'm with an animated character and we're squabbling thing. Monkey Bone, a character with kind of relatively big Bugs and Daffy energy. So it is funny that this comes so soon after. But
is this a parody of Monkey Bone?
Yeah, exactly. But see, no one saw Monkey Bone, so he's kind of like able to pull this shit again, and like nobody thinks it's repetitive. But
he's a good choice because you can tell he takes it very seriously that he's acting with cartoons.
Absolutely. Like Brendan Fraser, nothing if not a person who takes things seriously.
Of course.
But I've seen an enormous amount of Brendan Fraser films, largely because I had kind of two waves of Brendan Fraser love. One in my childhood when this came out, and I was like, this guy's great. And then another couple of years ago when he's competing for the Academy Award, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking dive into Brendan Fraser and just like watch loads of his stuff. They did a season of his films in the Lighthouse, which was a really good excuse for me to go to see, like, I want to see like 3 of them from the 90s that I hadn't seen before, because his peak of superstardom actually just was coming to a close when, well, it kind of ran out in the mid-2000s. So I was a little bit too young for actually his best years, which were sort of the late 90s. But he's good in everything. Like in the comedy side of things, he's always good. I think when he tries to act seriously, that's when he faces challenges. But in the 90s, he starts off, he's in a movie called Presumed Guilty with Martin Sheen, which comes out around the same time as Presumed Innocent. In Encino Man, he plays like a caveman who wakes up in present day California. Okay. Then in Airheads, which we've discussed before on Adam and Ben, he's with Adam Sandler and Steve Buscemi, is like rock band.
Oh, he is, yeah.
Hijack a radio station. It's a lot of fun. He's in Mrs. Winterborn now and then George of the Jungle, which is fantastic, which is 1987. And this is him again. He's done the caveman. Now he's playing like a Tarzan type guy, a wild man who lives in the jungle, who seduces Leslie Mann, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, he's got a really stupid face. He looks so dumb in such an endearing way that casting him as any kind of like Neanderthal or sort of simpleton by design, i.e. a guy who has lived in the jungle his whole life or whatever, is a really good use of his face.
He is a little bit of a guy in his first day in acting class being told, be sad, be happy.
Absolutely, yeah. I did suggest to you during this film, does he have the same range as like Vin Diesel does as an actor? I worry that he might, where he's very funny and he can do the action stuff very well, but then when you ask him to do
Vin Diesel's not physically capable of moving his face.
That's the problem. I know Brendan Fraser at least is expressive.
Yeah,
he can cry, he can do other things, but like there is just a little bit of monotone delivery when he's saying certain things, and you're like, you've just been shown this dialogue on a piece of paper. Like, I don't know, I find him a little bit unnatural of an actor.
Sure. Anyhow, but again, I think that works in a context where you're acting across some cartoons.
Works great in this, yeah. It works great in all of these comedies I'm naming. Blast from the Past is one, again, where he's like a guy who's been in a bunker for 60 years, who comes into the present world and he's like, oh my God, where am I? The Mummy is probably the first one where you're kind of meant to take him seriously. I do like that first Mummy movie, but he's just playing like, Indiana Jones basically there. Slightly goofier. Dudley Do-Right, he plays like a that's based on a comic book or cartoon. He's playing a Canadian. What do you call this guy? An old school Canadian cop of some kind. Royal Canadian Mountie. There you go. He's a guy with a big hat who rides on the back of a horse and wears red. Bedazzled is terrible. Monkey Bone I quite enjoy. Henry Selick's movie Monkey Bone. Very weird. It's like this, but more kind of sick and twisted. John Turturro does the voice of Monkey Bone. There's a lot to like in that. Mummy Returns I haven't actually seen. Quiet American is like then, serious Brendan. That's him and Michael Caine, and that's like a, Oscar Beatty drama that gets Michael Caine Oscar nomination. Then you got Looney Tunes back in action, followed swiftly in 2004 by his role in Crash. He's not the most memorable part of Crash. He plays the husband of Sandra Bullock's character, who famously is so racist that he falls down the stairs.
Yes.
He kind of just stands around being like, hey, there's no need to be racist. Be nice to the maid. He doesn't really do anything else. He's just being used as like a dumb face there. This is when things are starting to dry up. He's in a movie called The Last Time, which is a drama with Michael Keaton. The Mummy 3, Journey to the Center of the Earth, and Inkheart all come out the same year, none of which are massive hits. This is the last year that Brendan Fraser is ever starring in $100 million movies. You've then got the Harrison Ford pharmaceutical drama Extraordinary Measures. He's in Furry Vengeance, which is kind of like
that's what I'm.
That's like a household name career killer movie. I feel like if you ask a lot of people, do you know what happened to Brendan Fraser in the late 2000s? They'd be like, oh, he was in that movie Furry Vengeance and he never worked again. And it's like, yeah, Furry Vengeance was kind of the icing on the cake of like shit that he was doing.
But Furry Vengeance is a film that exists, and like
it does exist.
People are weirdly familiar of the name,
and it's not that terrible. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's just him with like loads of animals moving into his garden. It's fine. It's harmless. I watched a movie last week that he pops up in called A Case of You, which is a Justin Long vehicle where he shows up as like the asshole ex-boyfriend of the love interest, and he's like a guy with a band, and he's like, hey man, and he's good in doing kind of like Jason Segel parts, like those kinds of like dumb guy roles. Like Jason Segel is actually kind of
could you put him in a Judd Apatow film?
I think you could put him in a Judd Apatow film. Yeah. I don't know where he fits in a Judd Apatow film now that he's in his whatever he's in, late 50s, but he, I think, has the kind of schlubby, nice, normal guy thing that you would maybe want from a Judd Apatow protagonist. This basically kicks off a run of 5, 6, 7 years where he's not making real movies. It emerged later on, of course, that during this period he had been assaulted at a Golden Globes party and was really fucking traumatized afterwards, and went through a couple of years of like, really difficult time mentally and physically. And I think public sympathy now has swung around so hard on him during that era that like one would almost rather just skip over this few years and the slop that he was making, because it doesn't reflect, I don't think, on him. It's, his persona went out of fashion. He was going through a really difficult time, and the roles were not coming to him. So you can totally forgive the stuff that he was in, but he made a lot of bad movies. He then shows up in 2018 in the show Trust, which I love, which is the Danny Boyle show about the Getty kidnapping with Donald Sutherland, where he plays the same character that Mark Wahlberg had played in All the Money in the World. Okay. But he gets like a spotlight episode that's just him walking around in Italy, like monologuing to the camera, and he's amazing in it. And I was like, oh, this is... because it's within his skill set. He's playing this like sheriff guy with a big hat. Like, I'm here in Italy. Like, it's within his range as an actor. And it's really good. And I remember being like, this is perfect use of him. Let's fucking go. Brendan's back. He's in the show The Affair with Dominic West and that actress I don't like, Ruth Wilson. People liked him in that as well. He's doing a couple TV bits here and there. And then he gets cast in The Whale. Yeah. And I hate to say it, I think The Whale, one of the worst performances an actor has ever won an Oscar for. I think it's an absolutely disgraceful film. I hate it so much. I think Brendan Fraser is arguably completely innocent of how bad that film is, because of course you would take that role if it was offered to you. It was such perfectly packaged Oscar bait for him specifically. But I don't know why Darren Aronofsky felt the need to spend 3 years of his career manufacturing this utterly fucking forced and vapid pity project for an actor who I'm sure he wanted to support, but like the film is deeply embarrassing. You've been lucky enough you haven't had to endure The Whale.
I haven't, but I've seen certain moments.
This is like ultimately You all know what The Whale is. This is a film about a guy who's so fat that he can't leave the house. He eats like 20 pizzas a day. His daughter is like the most evil child ever. Sadie Sink comes over to his house and is like, you fucking fat bastard. I hate you. I hate you. The whole movie. He gets visited by two nice ladies from his life, Hong Chow and Samantha Morton, both of whom are really good in it, actually, despite everything else. It's a film I often describe as like watching a trailer for a play where they're just showing you little clips of recordings of the stage and you're like, this is lit like a play. This looks terrible. That's what The Whale is like for all of 2 hours. He, has a heart attack when he's jerking off. He goes on Zoom and cries and eats loads of pizzas, and then ultimately at the end of the film he dies from eating too many pizzas.
Like, is this something that's sadder because Brendan Fraser's in it?
I actually don't think it's sad at all, and I feel like because Brendan Fraser is like heavily made up to look way more overweight than he is in this film. So it's like you leave the film and you look at Brendan Fraser's real build and you're like, oh, you're actually totally fine. Like you look great. Like this is such a fucking caricature of like a monstrous fat person.
Like, is this something that would have been made if Brendan Fraser wasn't available? Is this tailored to him at all? And is he built into the vision?
Yeah, he's definitely built into the vision. You need an actor who is noticeably heavier than they were at their peak and is a subject of sympathy.
So you got to build into the
otherwise the movie doesn't.
Metatext there.
Otherwise the movie wouldn't get distribution. Yeah, exactly. Oh, this movie's entirely built on metatext of, oh, look at Brendan Fraser. Isn't he so sad?
It's the substance of its day.
Yeah, but it's like, fuck you. It is the substance of its day, but like, I feel like this is far more condescending to Brendan Fraser.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what I was trying to get at here.
Like
is this a condescending?
He was condescended to so horribly throughout this entire run.
Yeah.
This was the worst nightmare year where he was getting this whole, what a lovely man crying, oh, what a sad guy. Meanwhile, you have Ke Huy Quan pulling the same bullshit out next door.
Yeah.
Competing for Best Supporting Actor, where he's like, I love my mommy and no one employed me for years and I'm back, and it's like, I can't stand this. You're like, these are adult men, treat them like adults. Like, this is so patronizing. I think Ke Huy Quan is responsible a lot for his own annoying behavior, but the industry let him get away with it and rewarded him for it, which is unfortunate. Funny.
You could have put DiCaprio on The Whale. I think that would have worked.
DiCaprio on The Whale. Yeah. I can't think of anyone else who would have been good in The Whale. Like, you need someone that people feel bad for. So,
sure.
But it's such an evil fucking film. I hate it so much. It is I never want to hear anyone describe anything as Oscar bait if they're not describing The Whale as Oscar bait. This film was made for no reason other than to win Brendan Fraser the Oscar. And I can't believe that they gave in. I had a big bet placed on Austin Butler. I was really hoping he'd get it, and he loses to Brendan. I will say, when Brendan Fraser gets up and wins the Oscar, I'm happy for him and I'm moved because I like him and he seems like a lovely guy. But I'm also like,
but at least
the game has gone the
2
wrong
years
way.
Didn't go to waste.
Yeah, I know, right? He got something for being in this horrible film. But like, it's just like fucking, oh my God, now that this has happened, what are they going to make next? But he then shows up, a couple months later, Killers of the Flower Moon, in which he's phenomenal, 1 or 2 scenes, and you sort of be like, okay, maybe this guy has some talent. Yeah. Killers of the Flower Moon, he shows up and I need to speak to my client. Mr. Burkhart is my client and I have not spoken to him. It's fantastic.
I forgot he's talking to DiCaprio on that.
Yeah, it's him and Lithgow. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. We love that scene so much. He's great.
We fucking roared in the cinema.
It's brilliant. It's so great because you're like 3 hours later, Brendan Fraser hasn't shown up yet. Yeah. And you're like, oh, here he is. This is great. Hasn't been in anything particularly good or real since then, but I look forward to seeing what he does. I don't really know what his deal is in terms of, does he want to go back to making the stuff he was doing in the early 2000s? Does he want to make more bullshit like The Whale, or does he want to do something interesting? I mean, he's worked with Scorsese once. I think he can do it again. There's often talk of, will they do another Mummy with him? Like, Lee Cronin is making like cool Mummy movie now in Ireland with Jack Rayner. I don't think Brendan Fraser should do another Mummy movie. I don't think there's any point in that.
It's going back to a time when he doesn't need to.
He doesn't need to. He move on and find new stuff to be in. Oh, sorry. I actually remembered. He is in something coming out this year. Apologies. Thank God I didn't forget this. He's playing Eisenhower in that fucking Andrew Scott World War II weather movie.
Okay.
Pressure. This is Oppenheimer, but weather.
Yeah.
Andrew Scott is playing the guy who was the weatherman for the meteorological officer for D-Day.
Yeah.
And Brendan Fraser is playing Eisenhower. Kerry Condon is the female lead. Also in this movie, Chris Messina.
Oh boy.
Phenomenal. This is coming out this year. I'm very excited for this. It's called Pressure. Okay, so Brendan Fraser playing the absolute like Twinkie king that was Dwight Eisenhower. I'm very excited for that. That's great news. Very good. All right, there you go. Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, meanwhile, stars of this movie, have, I think, Bugs Bunny's cultural presence remains far more significant. I don't know why, because as you argued, Daffy Duck is definitely the bigger role in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I think Daffy Duck is a much more interesting cartoon character.
He's got a bit of...
He's got edge to him.
he's got anger in him.
Yeah.
Well, Bugs Bunny kind of succeeds at everything he does, so he's not as compelling of a story.
Like you're looking ultimately at like a stinker versus like a really bad guy. I mean, Daffy Duck is like an absolute scumbag. Daffy Duck would throw his own mother under a bus for a bit of cash or attention. Bugs Bunny, meanwhile, is like a little bit more human, I think, compassionate character, but also like willing to cause chaos and meddle in whatever he can. So, you're dealing with two guys but they're not really friends.
They're not.
And their cartoons in the traditional Looney Tunes canon are generally separate to one another. They don't really co-star that frequently. They do sometimes. But like Bugs' cartoons is usually Bugs is tormenting Elmer Fudd or he's tormenting another figure of authority.
Yeah.
Whereas Daffy Duck actually constructs slightly more elaborate scenarios and also has woe befall him. One of the greatest animated shorts in history, possibly number one, is the famous Duck Amuck. This is where Daffy Duck is basically at the whim of a nebulous illustrator who decides to start erasing things and drawing things around him. So Daffy Duck is stuck on a piece of paper while the illustrator starts to just create scenarios for him, drawing holes that he can fall into, erasing his beak so he can't talk, and just basically like manipulates the environment to drive him insane. It's fucking incredible. It's really brilliant. And you can see so much influence on SpongeBob and various other things from that. Then you've got one that I really love where he is on a game show. Is he the host of the game show? Yeah, he's a host of the game show, and Porky Pig, who is frequently a nemesis of his, is the contestant on the game show. And every time Porky Pig gets a question wrong, some horrible, terrible thing befalls him. And Daffy Duck goes, "Now you must pay the penalty." And it's really, really good. So Daffy Duck likes to create more complex scenarios.
Sure.
There is a feature animated film released in U.S. cinemas in the past month that we must mention, which is called The Day the Earth Blew Up, which features Daffy Duck and Daffy Duck and Porky Pig. Now, it is available on streaming here.
I've not heard of this until you've said it right now.
It came out a couple of weeks ago. The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. It is 91 minutes long, and it is about an alien invasion. It's in the style of a 1950s sci-fi B movie. It's Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, and it's meant to be really good. All the Looney Tunes, truthers love it. It was released in the US in cinemas by Ketchup Entertainment, who acquired it from Warner Brothers, who have completely fucking abandoned the Looney Tunes brand and are dumping all over it. It has grossed $9.7 million on a budget of $15 million plus the acquisition that they paid. So not great, but it's there. It's in cinemas, and that's good. Weird that Warner Brothers, who used Looney Tunes as their logo for many years, are no longer making Looney Tunes movies and are selling them off to Ketchup Entertainment. But anyway, it's not getting released here in cinemas. From the looks of it, there's no Ketchup Entertainment doesn't have any distribution here. It is available on streaming here, so I might just watch it on TV. But Ketchup are now apparently going to buy Coyote versus Acme, which has been this huge scandal for the past 3 years because they made another new live-action Looney Tunes movie, which sounds about as close to Back in Action as we're going to get. It is a courtroom comedy where Wile E. Coyote takes the Acme Corporation to court for all the harm that their faulty weapons have caused him. It's
very funny making a courtroom drama with a character that doesn't speak.
It's fantastic. So his lawyer, I think, is played by Will Forte, and then the Acme lawyer is played by John Cena or some combination of that. It's meant to be really good. Anyone who's seen it says it's really funny. Warner Brothers announced that they were going to do a tax write-off and destroy the film, bury it, never release it. And apparently now, after The Day the Earth Blew Up has been released, Ketchup Entertainment were able to convince them to go to a meeting and have a discussion about acquiring it. If they sell the film to Ketchup Entertainment, surely the tax write-off has to be undone because the film no longer has been destroyed. But I don't know two ways about it. You would assume that destroying the film for good was a prerequisite of getting the tax write-off, but I don't know how these things work. It was a deeply evil thing to do anyway.
I'm sure there's some
regardless.
accounting trickery they can do there.
Yeah.
I'll look into it.
So I'm desperately hoping this film gets released.
Same. I
Whether
think
we
it
have
looks
to get to see it in
great.
the cinema or have to watch it on streaming, I don't care. It is the only other script ever written by the woman who wrote May December, and Academy Award nominee, and I really can't wait to see it. So hopefully we can bring back the Looney Tunes, but I do fear that even in the hands of Ketchup Entertainment, without the support of Warner Brothers, there's not much that we can do with this brand. So yeah, there you go. Looney Tunes back in action. If you haven't seen it, folks, I recommend. I think it's a lot of fun. And Brendan Fraser, I hope you're doing well. So let's play a little game where this movie was released in a 3-movie combo pack DVD.
Okay.
And anytime a film we discuss in the podcast is released in one of these now, I want to have a little guessing game. Released in a 3-movie combo pack DVD. And I would like you to guess what the other movies in the combo pack were. Mm-hmm. So, can you guess without clues? Will I need to give you clues? We'll see. Looney Tunes back in action. One of the 3 movies. Mm-hmm. Any guesses?
Are they all within a certain time range? Like, when was the pack released?
That's a good question. I'm going to guess it was released probably just after this film came out on DVD.
Okay.
Mid-2000s. Early 2000s.
Is this the most notable flagship kind of film of the 3?
Notable flagship? That's a tough one to define. I can't answer that.
Okay.
They're all
This isn't like
equally
Looney
memorable.
Tunes back in action with 2 other films tacked on.
No, it's not. No. This
Okay.
is 3 films that all probably equally exist in public consciousness.
Are there other... Is one of them like Space Jam? No. Are there... Okay, I'm trying to find the links here. Because usually there is a... Is there a common actor between them all?
No.
Like Steve Martin isn't in all 3
No. There's no common link between these.
at all.
No.
They just...
The common link is...
They're all mid-90s.
Not mid-90s. The common link is they're all from within a certain period. They're aimed at kids. They're all live action with... they're live action with creatures in them.
Are they all Warner Brothers?
I assume so, but that won't help you. But sure.
Sure. But
Sure
I'm
they are.
not going to start suggesting they're with Disney stuff.
No,
like-
there's no Disney stuff, no. I think these 3 DVD packs have to be from the same studio.
Yeah. Ugh.
So like
So are they all hybrid animation or are the other 2 full animation?
kind of. Like yeah, sort of. There's like animals in the other one.
Okay.
But they're not
Is there like a
animated
Dr. Dolittle in there somewhere?
films. No.
No.
Okay, I'll start giving you better clues. Okay. First movie we have here. Poster has a lot of orange on it. This movie is named after the animal who's on the poster. The animal on the poster is wearing sunglasses.
Kangaroo
It is
Jack.
Kangaroo Jack, correct. Good day.
Good day.
What's it? I'm Jackie Legs and I came to say hello.
Hello.
All right, next one. The poster is very blue.
Okay.
And there are 2 animals on the poster, and they are pressing their heads up against each other like, I'm going to fight you. There's actually a lot more than 2 animals on this poster, but there's 2 animals at the front of this poster, and they're like looking at each other like, we are enemies, and we're going to fight.
Animated or like...
There are animals, and then there's live action stuff going on.
Okay. But I mean, the animals are not like...
I don't know how the animals were fucking made. I assume the animals are CGI animals that talk.
Sure, it's not like Hotel for Dogs.
No,
It's real.
sorry, no, it's not Hotel.
That's
for-
what I mean. Where
Yeah,
it's like
these
real
animals talk.
shot.
They talk, yeah. They talk and they have like business.
This is
they
a
do-
Babe Pig in the City.
No, but like it's close enough.
Okay.
Bad though.
You're gonna have to either give me more clues or just tell me.
I'll just tell you. This movie's called Cats and Dogs.
I wouldn't have got that.
There we go. That's your 3 combo pack game.
Woo,
Hooray.
woohoo.
All right.
I got one of them. That was good.
Pull up the box office there for Looney Tunes Back in Action. This movie was released in November 2003 in the United States. November 14th. It was on a budget of 80 million. It grossed 68.5 million. It was
I did that last game with the idea that this came out in 95 in my head for some reason.
right.
That's
03. It grossed 68 million on a budget of 80. It was not a success. That is why they never made any more of these.
Boo.
80 million is pretty good for this. That is pretty expensive. It just has like a lot of it has like, people jumping off the Eiffel Tower and all sorts of cool action
Yeah.
stuff. So it looks, the money's on screen.
Oh
Like,
god, Brendan Fraser jumps off the Eiffel Tower.
he does.
That looks insane.
Yeah. It's a pretty good scene. I think all the effects in this are really good.
Sure. There's some very clunky, like early 2000s kind of like
the robot dog looks terrible.
Yeah,
But actually, the robot dog looking so bad, I think, is quite obvious because of how pretty good everything else has looked up to that point.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we need to quickly mention Brendan Fraser's character is the stuntman for the real Brendan Fraser within the plot of the film.
Oh, he is, yeah.
And at the end of the film,
Yeah.
he meets the real Brendan Fraser. It's very similar to the Julia Roberts thing in Ocean's 12.
Little bit, yeah.
He meets the real Brendan Fraser at the end and punches him in the face. It's really fun.
Hmm.
All right.
All right. Big comedy film that gets annual watches here based on its seasonal.
Here, the
Seasonal
movie is
theme.
Elf.
Elf.
Elf is good.
Yeah.
Interesting fact that people frequently point out that 2003 produces Love Actually and Elf, and there hasn't been another Christmas movie that has, been incorporated into the canon of Christmas movies.
Sure.
Since those two,
Has there not?
and they were the same year.
Polar
Now,
Express.
maybe Polar Express at a stretch for a certain generation. Yeah.
Sure.
But not for adults, really.
This seemed to happen with music as well.
Yes, maybe.
Did we just stop canonizing Christmas?
Yeah,
things?
true. Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
Elf is good, and is a movie I'll never watch again because people have made me hate it through GIFs and memes, and the culture has made me hate Elf, a film that I actually think is very, very good. But anyway,
number 2 film you watched 2 days ago.
I film I watched 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
What?
Yep.
From 2003.
Yeah.
I watched it 2 days ago.
Well, some of it anyway.
On Friday.
Yeah.
Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World.
Yes.
Yeah, I finished it. Yeah.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, it was all right. It was kind of boring. I feel like it needed to be an hour longer. There wasn't enough like crazy dense lore in it. Like it kind of was too breezy.
Yeah.
But it does end with Russell Crowe and Paul Bettany sitting down and just jamming out with a cello and a violin, and the film ends. And I really liked that. So.
All right. Next up is a sequel, I believe.
All right.
Possibly the third in a
Interesting. 2003.
mm-hmm.
Is it
famous IP?
famous IP?
Got a fourth one in recent years.
Interesting. Got a fourth one in recent years. I have another clue.
Has had recent relevance when its imagery has kind of popped up in a successful television show we watched recently.
Severance.
No.
The Studio.
No.
What's a show we watched?
4 episodes.
Oh, Adolescence.
What do they make reference to in adolescence?
I don't know. What do they make reference to in Adolescence? I have no.
To do with colors.
I'm so lost.
This is Matrix Revolutions.
Oh, The Matrix.
Because they do the whole
Sorry. Yeah. You know
red pill, blue
Yeah.
pill.
Sorry.
nonsense.
That was too. That was like my brain does not function along those
All
lines.
right, fair enough.
Do you know they brought 2 Matrix movies out in 2003? Isn't that crazy? There was one in May and one in November.
That's fun.
It is fun. I wish they'd do that now.
Well, they tried with Mission Impossible.
They no, they didn't try with Mission Impossible. They tried with Horizon.
Oh,
Mission
Horizon.
Impossible was
Yeah,
never
Horizon.
going to do
Horizon's
2 a year.
better.
Horizon was meant to
example.
do a June and an August.
Yeah.
Oh, why couldn't they just do it? Like, why can't anything
Commit to the
fun?
bit. Who cares?
Nothing fun can ever happen anymore.
No.
Anyway, continue.
I would have watched the first Horizon if the second Horizon came out.
Yeah, you would have. Yeah.
I would have, yeah.
Yeah, you would have.
Next up, more animals.
More animals.
I
Right.
think you have a particular connection to this film.
I think I have a particular connection to this film. It's not like Racing Stripes or something. It's something that I like.
Maybe I'm confusing it with something else.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, I might be confusing this with the one song you can play on the guitar.
Bear Dance.
Yeah.
So this is something to do with bears. Bad News Bears.
No. It is to do with bears.
It's not. It's to do with bears, but it's not Bad News Bears. It's not Yogi Bear.
No.
Brother Bear.
Brother Bear.
Sorry, you're correct. Brother Bear is the second film I saw in the cinema.
Okay.
And Looney Tunes Back in Action is the third.
Yeah.
And the first was, of course, Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
I wonder if that's here anywhere. Probably
Thomas. That's 2000.
Oh,
much earlier,
before.
yeah.
All right. I thought so. You had a 2-year gap between your first cinema experience and your
3.
second.
3
3
years.
years.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was when I started primary school. They took us to see Brother Bear, and then I was like, all right, now I'm in. Cinema forever. And then we went to see Looney Tunes.
Next up are the tunes themselves.
Wait, sorry. You're telling me they opened in like 5th place?
They opened a 5th, yeah.
Oh, fuck. That's not good.
No.
That's not good at all.
No.
Oh, Jesus. You know who's the voices the main bear in
Brother Bear was in its 4th week and made more money than Looney Tunes.
Oh,
on the weekend.
Jesus Christ. And Brother Bear is not considered as a hit with distance. Do you know who plays the main bear in Brother Bear?
No.
Joaquin Phoenix. Isn't that random?
Yeah.
It's really weird, isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
fun. All right, I'll just
Yeah. Anything else interesting going on?
Love Actually.
Yeah.
Scary Movie 3.
Sure. I actually was going to guess that for the 3 a minute ago. Yeah.
Radio.
Oh, yeah. You love Radio with Ed Harris.
Ghastly film.
I remember Cheaper by the Dozen and this came out, I think, the same week in Ireland. I think they both came out in February of 2004, a few months later in Ireland. And I remember being like, I've never heard of the Steve Martin guy. And suddenly he's everywhere, which is a funny thing to say in 2004.
Oh, we got a fun one in here at number 11. Runaway Jury.
Very good. We need to stop doing early 2000s films. When the film we've done 3 weeks ago is coming up in the box office, you know that we need to broaden our
horizon.
Right. There you go.
That'll do.
That's a good reason to end. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into Boy Party. You can find all of our episodes at boypartypod.com. You can follow the show Boy Party Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Blue Sky, not Twitter. I believe that next week will be our March Madness winner, most likely. So you'll know by now what that was. It's either going to be Eyes Wide Shut, Babylon, or
Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can. So tune in.
Maybe
and find
that's
out.
the live poll as of.
Well, they're hearing this on Tuesday, so they'll know the winner.
Yep.
That'll be next week's episode, I presume. So enjoy. Well, that's all, folks.
That's all, folks.